Welcome back from lunch. I hope you all got a little, got to stretch your legs, get a nap. If you're a napper like me, I literally did a 10-minute meditation nap. I call it meditation. My wife calls it napping. But, you know, many cultures in the world use it. So I feel like there's got to be some wisdom there. And it definitely takes care of me. So excited for you guys to be back in here because as you can see, we're kind of on the business building, how to really get the most out of your primary asset today. And that's going to continue. So I want to introduce Jhana Li. And I just met Jhana not that long ago in Los Angeles, and she just absolutely crushed it when we were there. So I'm really happy to have her here, being able to get her booked on short notice. But Jhana first discovered operations while van lifing her way through North and South America. Since then, she's been COO at 2 successful startups, consulted over 50 7- and 8-figure businesses, and coached hundreds more. After seeing countless founders stall out and trap themselves without proper operations, Jhana decided to start her own company, Spyglass Ops. Through operations consulting, recruiting, and training, Spyglass Ops empowers founders, that's you guys, to simultaneously scale their businesses while regaining their personal freedom. So very on brand and on par for what we're talking about here. How do you systematically build this so that it's something that works for you? So Jhana, love to welcome you to the stage. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Hi, everyone. I would love to kick off today by telling you a quick story. In 1999, a man named John Doerr walked into a meeting with 2 young Silicon Valley founders and their small team of like 40 people. And he was there to introduce them to a framework that he called OKRs. The names of those 2 founders were Larry Page and Sergey Brin. And their company, Google, at the time, was this hopelessly outmatched, hopelessly out-resourced underdog in this massive fight against behemoths like Yahoo to try and become the #1 search engine online. And what John knew is that if Google was going to be successful in this unwinnable fight, they were going to have to do a couple of things. They were going to have to move wicked fast. They were going to have to stay agile and focused as a small team. And most importantly, they were going to have to get into the habit of setting huge, ambitious goals and hitting them consistently. And so to do all of this, he brought them OKRs. They took this methodology, they implemented it, and as we all know, the rest is quite literally history. Now, in the last 25 years, pretty much everything about Google has changed, but they still use OKRs to do this one thing, which is consistently set ambitious goals and then hit them. And my goal today is to do for you all what John Doerr did for the Google boys 25 years ago, and who knows? Maybe OKRs will have the same effect on your company as it did for Google. Should we find out?
Yes.
All right. So, beautiful introduction. No need to repeat any of that. Guys, the only thing you really need to know about me is that I am a die-hard operations nerd. And I know that's weird, and I know it's not sexy, but I can't help it. I just love it. And I love it because I honestly believe that operations is the secret advantage that lies in wait inside of your business. It's the secret lever that you can pull that nobody else is focused on, that if you know how to maximize it and leverage it, you achieve not just the best version of your business, not just the biggest, highest growth, highest potential version of your business, you achieve the best version of yourself, your life in relationship to the business, the freedom that you have within that business, the time that you get to spend with your family, and the hats that you want to be wearing inside of your company, as opposed to all of the hats that you feel like you have to be wearing. And operations is the critical difference. And so this is what I do and what I've done for the last 6-7 years is help startup founders understand the full power of operations so that they can achieve their goals at scale. So I've worked with enough of these companies at this point to feel confident that I can tell you one more story. And that is the story of your business. And the story goes something like this. Once upon a time, you decided to start a company, and you were out alone wandering in the wilderness. I know you guys are all thinking like, where did Jhana get her amazing graphic design skills? Happy to answer that question along with any others at the end of the presentation. So you were out, lost in the wilderness, no idea what you were doing. Let's be honest, none of us knew, right? And at that time, you were doing 2 things. You were making rapid decisions, right? You were talking to people, you were learning new concept, you were making rapid decisions around, yes, we will try that, and yes, we will do that, and yes, we'll go after that niche, and yes, we'll launch that product, and you were rapidly deciding, and then you were also executing, because it was just you. There was no one else. So you would make a decision at like midnight or like in the shower at 8 a.m. and it would be implemented by the end of the very next day. And you were fast, you were agile, you would make a decision, you would get it done, and it was happening in real time. Remember that? Yeah, that was good times, right? And then what happened? You made some really good decisions. You took some excellent actions, and your business started to grow. So you brought in more people, you started to hire. And as you built a team, maybe unbeknownst to you at the time, this tiny gap opened up in your business. Because for the first time ever, while you were still making all of the decisions, you were not the person taking 100% of the actions. So now we needed to figure out, how do we do that? How do we go from the decision that happens in my brain, let's call that strategy, and the actions that somebody else takes, let's call that execution. I set the strategy, somebody else executes. How do I cross that gap? And we figured it out. We crossed the gap. We had meetings, we sent endless Slack messages, right? We figured out this feedback loop that allowed us to make a decision and then somebody right next to us to act in accordance with that decision. And what happened? We made some good decisions. People took good actions. The company continued to grow. We continued to build and scale a team. But with every new hire that we brought in, that gap got wider. All of a sudden, it became harder to have a decision made and then to see that decision rolled out in the business. It took longer. It took more of your time, more meetings, more Slack messages. You would make a decision, think that you had communicated it, and then wake up 30 days later and be like, what the hell happened to that? Who's working on this? Where did that go, right? Is this familiar? We've all experienced this. And so what is it? It's more meetings, it's more Slack messages, it's more just like going around telling every single person on your team, this is the decision and this is what I need you to execute, right? So this is a normal gap. This is a normal growing pain. It exists in every single startup. It existed in Google, right? And this is called the strategy execution gap. This is a known phenomenon. But the challenge with it is that if we can't figure out how to fix it, into this gap, it's only gonna get wider the bigger we grow, and into this gap will fall all of our momentum, all of our speed, all of the progress that we wanna be making, all of the innovation, all these incredible ideas that we have in our brains, but then when we go to put them into execution, it either takes too long or it just dies out, right? And so we have to figure out how to close this gap if we want to continue to grow and scale, if we want to continue to make decisions, set goals, and then actually hit them, because it's not just us doing the doing. Does that make sense? So this framework that I'm about to share with you, OKRs, it might seem complicated at first, but very simply, all it is a bridge. That's all it is. It's a bridge between the decisions that you make, the goals that you set, and the actions that your team then takes for the next 90 days to guarantee that those goals be met. With me? Okay, perfect. So let's dive into this. OKRs. OKR stands for Objective Key Result. Out of curiosity, who here is familiar with OKRs, has heard of this before? Anybody? Okay, like 2 people. Cool, this is exciting for me. So OKR stands for Objective Key Result. And you can think of these as answering 2 questions. The objective answers the question what? The key result answers the question how. So the objective is the what, it's the decision, it's the goal. And then the key results are how the critical actions that will be taken in order to achieve the objective. And if I was to visualize, I love that we were asked to kind of mind map during lunch, because this is a very mind mappy, you probably knew that. This is a mind mappy exercise here. If I was to visually map that out, I would map it like this. We have a single central objective, and then we have 3 to 5, that's important, 3 to 5 key results. These key results are set such that by achieving every single one of those key results, the objective is guaranteed. I'm gonna say that again. You've got your objective, you've got your goal. The 3 to 5 key results are the 3 to 5 things that must get done in order to achieve the objective. And if all 3 to 5 of those things are done, the objective is met, right? So I'm gonna walk you guys through an example of how this could work, right? And I'd like you to think about, because at the end of this, we're actually gonna build our own, let's say between now and the end of the year. So you might already have your end of year goal, right? You might already know where you wanna be, January 1st, 2025. That's your quarterly company objective. Now, what are the 3 to 5 things that must be done in order for that objective to be met? Maybe there is a product key result that goes into that, a sales key result, client success, and operations, marketing, right? Like these are the 3 to 5 departments that we have in our business that all need to work together in order for us to achieve our goal. So let me give you a tactical example of what this might look like. Let's say, hypothetical here, that your goal is to increase top line revenue by 100K per month. That's the objective. The key results that go into that could be, on the sales side, we need to increase our conversion rate by 25% or to 25%. We need to launch a new product that's going to bring in X amount of revenue. We need to increase our average client lifetime value, right? Like we've sat down, we've run the numbers, and we've determined that if we want to see an 100K per month increase, we need this much growth in sales, this much growth in marketing, this much growth in back-end product revenue and lifetime value. And we can guarantee that if every single of these numbers are hit, then the objective will be met. See how that all fits together? Okay, perfect. So this is where it gets fun. Let's take an example. Let's take the marketing key result. Let's say that the marketing key result is increase your lead flow by 10%. Okay, so then you go with your head of marketing and you say, this key result, this one right here, this belongs to you. This becomes your objective. This is key, guys. So the key result of the company-wide objective becomes the individual objective, of your head of marketing. That individual contributor now takes ownership for one of those key results. It becomes his objective. With me? So your head of marketing has now this objective, increase lead flow by 10%. And he says, okay, how am I going to do this? He goes to his marketing team and he says, all right, guys, how are we going to do this? What are the 3 to 5 key results that we as a marketing department must achieve in order to meet our marketing objective? And his team comes back and they're like, yeah, we're going to need to increase our paid ads. We're going to have to crush it on our Black Friday promo. We have to get our Instagram going, whatever, right? 3 to 5 key results such that if every single one of them is met, the objective for marketing is guaranteed, which means that if marketing does its job and sales does its job and all of those key results are met, then the company-wide objective is guaranteed. Are we starting to see how this flows together? Okay, let's do it one more time. So then he goes to your head of media buying and he says, hey, we need to increase the paid ads lead flow by 8%. So your head of media buying says, okay, that's my objective. The marketing key result becomes the individual objective for that individual contributor, that head of media buying. So he goes to his media buying team and he says, all right, guys, how are we going to do this? Increase lead flow by 8%. And they said, yeah, we need creatives and retargeting ads and whatever, right? All kinds of things. But these 3 to 5 key results will guarantee that our paid ads go up by 8%. And if we do that and the rest of the marketing team does their key results, then that guarantees that the lead flow will increase by 10%. And if we do that and sales does their job and everybody does their job, then that guarantees that the company-wide objective is met. So what's powerful about OKRs is that they guarantee the outcome. And it aligns everyone in the company because your head of media buying can know, capital K know, that if they get this objective done, they will have done the single most important thing for their business contribution that quarter. And that if they get their objective done and everybody gets their objective done, the goal is guaranteed. They know that by working on this one thing, they are achieving their highest possible contribution to the business because it has been built that way. It is guaranteed. Right? And so in this way, what's brilliant about this is that it changes the game for you because all of a sudden you're not stuck having to run around to everyone and tell them, do this today, do this today, do this today, do this today. You do this once. It takes a week per quarter to build out these OKRs. And then you know, and everyone else knows what needs to get done for the next 90 days. There's no micromanaging. There's no following up. It's just accountability. It's just, hey, are we on track or are we off track? Because I know and you know what the most important thing is. We've already carved that out. So what do you need to get it done? It fundamentally changes the conversations that take place in your business. Because right now you might feel stuck having to make all these hundreds of decisions every day and then tell everyone what those decisions are and then follow up with them and herd the cats and make sure that they're all doing those things. Or we use one simple framework to guarantee that our decision gets rolled out across every individual across the whole business. And then we hold them accountable to that. Starting to see the picture here? So let's talk about how to actually build these. 4-step process every single quarter. And again, we're about to run this as a practice, but this is something that you guys could do. How many of you have a leadership intensive scheduled for November, December when you're mapping out your 2025? Jimmy does. A couple of people do. Okay. So how many people have a leadership team? Okay. Few of us. Great. So if you don't have a leadership team, then this is still how we set goals for the business. It's just a bit more of a schizophrenic tea party where we're wearing all of the hats and we have some of those objectives, okay? So the process is the same. If it's just you, that's you taking a step away from the office. I recommend getting outside. For me, it's going to a lake with a notebook and thinking about these things once every quarter. And once every quarter, you're sitting down and you're asking yourself, what is the single highest leverage goal that I could set for my business in the next 90 days? What is the one thing that I could achieve that would make an astronomical effect to my company? Where do I set the North Star? So that's a leadership level decision. Frankly, it's a founder level decision. So even those of you who have the leadership team, they might be advisors, they might weigh in, but it is your decision. This is the ultimate objective for the next 90 days. So we set the objective, and then we establish that first inner ring of OKRs, right? Those 3 to 5, these could be departmental, they don't have to be, but those 3 to 5 key results, that if these 3 to 5 things get done in the next 90 days, our company-wide objective is met, okay? So that process happens every single quarter. That should take place over the course of 1 to 2 days when you guys do your quarterly strategic intensives. Again, if you have questions about any of this, we have Q&A after this, we have a panel, and then I'm around all night for you guys. So we're walking out of that intensive with that first set of OKRs built. Then we go to our team, and we go to our marketing team, and we say, hey, here's the marketing key result. And we go to our sales team, and we say, hey, here's the sales team key result. And again, if that's just you, then it's just you handing yourself the baton. It says, hey, when you are in sales, when you're wearing the sales hat, this is the goal, this is the outcome, and all of the things you say yes to and all of the things that you say no to can and should map towards you getting this done in the next 90 days, right? So it doesn't matter how big or small your team is. Again, Google did this when they were 40, and now they're at 70,000. It scales just fine. So your executive team will then establish OKRs with the rest of the team, so that at the end of that very first week, every single individual across the company has one objective, 3 to 5 key results per hat that they wear. That's an important note, right? Like if I'm both the CEO and I'm head of sales and I'm head of marketing, then I am responsible for the company-wide objective, the sales objective, and the marketing objective. And I can understand that, and I can set that realistically, saying, all right, I have 3 hats to wear in the next 90 days. These objectives have to be viable for me to achieve with 30% of my time. So this is the process, and the more you get into it, the faster it will become. Generally, it takes about a week, very first week of the quarter. So here's an example of what this could look like tactically. So this is an example of literally my team's company-wide objective for Q4 of this year. Our objective was to what I called refining the acquisition machine, and we were going to measure that by an increase in top-line revenue of 2x. So I wanted to double our top-line revenue in 90 days. That was the freaking, thank you. That was the freaking objective, right? It was a big one. So how are we gonna do that? The sales component of that is managing and maintaining a close conversion ratio of 22.5% without Jhana. That was important. I just brought in a closer. He's amazing, but I was bottlenecking the sales process because clients wanted to talk to me. So cool, how do we work me out of that process without our conversion rate dropping below 22.5%? That's the objective for sales, right? Then my sales team, his name is Galen, my closer, that became his objective. He broke down his 3 to 5 key results, and one of those is that, cool, we need an SDR, like an appointment setter, onboarded and trained by September 31st. Like that is a necessary key result that he needs achieved in order to meet his objective, right? So then he went to our HR team and he said, all right, cool, in order for this key result to be met, this is when we need to launch the hiring funnel, this is when I need to be interviewing candidates, and this is when we need to have our new SDR hired and onboarded by this date. So what you guys are seeing here is that we're taking something super big and lofty, like 2x revenue, and we're breaking it down to have this one person onboarded by this date. Strategy, execution, right? It breaks down into actionable steps, major milestone deliverables that need to get done. And again, you'll see I'm listed at the very top because the company-wide objective is mine as CEO, but I am not listed anywhere else on that board. My team knows what they're responsible for. My team is the one deciding these are the action steps that need to get done in order for our objective to be met. I'm not telling them how to do their job. They know how to do their job. I'm just telling them what success in their job looks like. That's a really critical point. I loved how we were talking about empowering the team. You want to empower your team, give them autonomy to do their job. Tell them what success looks like. and then let them tell you how they're going to make that happen for you. That's empowering. And you can feel safe in handing off that level of autonomy, that level of empowerment, because you know they're working towards the right thing. And you know that if they achieve that objective and bring whatever creative, innovative powerhouse of an individual they can to achieve that objective, you know it will move the business in the direction you want it to go. It's guaranteed. We're starting to see why this is so powerful. So, building an effective OKR. A couple of best practices with this. Number one, every OKR should be data-driven. Every OKR should have a AMB, as measured by. So if we go back to mine, refine the acquisition machine, that was the objective, as measured by an increase in top-line revenue of 2x, right? So it's data-based. I can say for sure, 90 days from now, yes, I achieved that outcome. No, I did not. It's black and white because the data says it's so, right? So every objective, every key result has the as measured by. And then what's so powerful about this is that now that you have it measurable, your team can take ownership for that number, right? 22.5%. That's the conversion ratio my sales team needs to achieve. Galen can check his numbers, and now he does, every week and say, am I on track or off track? We had an awesome month. Fantastic. Why? What contributed to that success? We're down. What's happening? Lead quality, show up rates, what's going on, right? So he is taking ownership for the number. I don't check that number. It's not my number, it's his number. And now he's coming to me as opposed to the other way around when there's a problem. He's saying, hey, Jhana, our conversion rates are dropping. I think it's the show up rate. I've met with the marketing team. Here's the solution we've got. What do you think? As opposed to me having to somehow catch this and be like, hey, Galen, what's going on? Your conversion rate's down. Is it the show up rate? What's going on? Did you audit that, right? So what's powerful about OKRs is that it flips the flow of communication from top down to now bottom up. When your team owns the numbers, they own the problems that come with hitting those numbers. They own the awareness and the tracking of those numbers. And they own the creativity required to solve those problems and hit those numbers. You are unlocking the human potential within your team. You're giving them the opportunity to come to the table, bring their best to the table, and tell you, here's how we're gonna get it done. Because this is my objective. I own it, and I take pride in that. We'll skip down to that actually. The ultimate way to create ownership here is to make OKRs collaborative. Meaning it's my choice ultimately what the company-wide objective is. It's my choice ultimately what those 3 to 5 key results are. I can bring my team into that conversation, but at the end of the day, that's the context that I have as a founder of like, this is where we're going, and this is what it's gonna take to get it done. But for every other OKR on that diagram, I bring that to my team. And I say, hey, marketing, here's the key result for marketing. What do you guys think the 3 to 5 key results need to be for the marketing objective to be met? And because it's collaborative, what people contribute to, what people create, they take ownership for. Because all of a sudden, it's not yours. It's not my boss telling me the 3 to 5 things I need to get done. It's my boss presenting a question that I now have to step up and answer. Well, boss, I think it might be, our paid ads, they need to increase. That would have to be by about 8%. We would need Instagram. We need to see this increase in followership, right? Like now it's mine. I'm the one innovating and creating the 3 to 5 key results that are going to take to meet that objective. And so when I step forward out of that meeting, not only am I super clear on what I need to do, but I feel a sense of ownership and pride over it. So even if you already know what the OKRs for your company need to be for the quarter, building it, co-creating it with your team ensures that ownership. And the final piece of this, we talked about accountability. That key result represents their result to own for the business, but that doesn't exclude collaboration. What do I mean by that? I mean, Galen, my salesperson, can now go to my marketing team directly if there's a problem with his show-up rate. If there's a problem that's going to inhibit his ability to get his OKR done, he doesn't need me. I don't know anything about show-up rates. He goes to the people who are responsible for that, and he works with them, right? So because he owns the result, he is now responsible for tapping into and getting the resources that he needs to achieve that result. He's responsible for saying, hey, Jhana, I don't know if I know how to do this. I need a sales coach who's going to help me increase this conversion rate. Okay, now he's responsible for finding that resource. And then we see if we have it in the budget to get it to him, right? It totally changes the flow of information. He's the person deciding, here's what I need, here's what I don't need to get this done. All I'm here to do is coach him, support him, and clear his blockers. So accountability, it does not exclude collaboration. In fact, it unlocks collaboration because now everybody sees what everybody else is working at the company. And if sales goes to marketing and says, hey, I need something in order to hit my OKRs, marketing drops everything and says, yeah, what do you need? Because the priorities are clear. Anything that is on that diagram is a priority for the business. And so it automatically becomes my priority, even if it's not my OKR. So you unlock horizontal communication, collaboration, innovation, because everybody knows what everybody else is working on. The final piece of this is adaptable. The reality of startup life is that none of us really know where our businesses are going to be 90 days from now, right? Like, we can do our best guess. And so if something happens, if our whole marketing key result was based off of paid ads and then Mark Zuckerberg decided to shut down our Facebook, we can't control that. So cool, we can adapt. We can revise the key result. But again, who's bringing that problem to the table? It's my head of marketing telling me that there's an issue that's going to prevent them from hitting their OKRs, and we need to have a game plan. Does this all make sense, guys? Ready? So we're gonna run it. Let's do it. So we're going to set just that initial round of OKRs, that company-wide objective and the 3 to 5 key results. This is collaborative, so ask any questions. Your company-wide objective is your goal between now and the end of the year. Does anybody feel very brave and want to volunteer what their goal is between now and the end of the year? A common question I get around OKRs, does the objective have to be revenue-based? No, right? Maybe revenue is not the biggest mover for you in the next 90 days. Maybe it's launching a new product. Maybe it's client experience and client success and lifetime value. Maybe it's a brand change that you want to make happen, right? Again, you decide. The objective is the single #1 priority that will move you towards your goals. Revenue just happens to be an easy way for us to keep track. So brilliant. We've got a clear quarterly revenue target. Do you mind if I put you on the spot? We work some key results together? Okay. So what in your mind are the 3 to 5 most important key results such that by meeting them, your objective would be met? So, okay, perfect. So we've got 3 departmental goals. We know that marketing needs to hit a certain volume in order to essentially feed the rest of the ecosystem. That's 4 key results. Done, right? And we can know that if all 4 of those goals were met, then we would hit the revenue goal by the end of the quarter. It's guaranteed. And then you can take that head of service, I'm making things up, head of technicians. Hey, head of technicians, this is your goal. Your guys need to hit this on average every hour. What 3 to 5 things do you need to do with your guys in order to guarantee that outcome? Guys, I always say, right? I talk to business owners all the time and I'm like, what is your big frustration? My team. My team's slow, they're reactive, they're always waiting for me to tell them what to do. I just don't think they're A players. And I asked them, I was like, well, have you told them what an A player in their role looks like? Because no all-star athlete can run a race if you don't tell them where the finish line is. You could drop Usain Bolt in a field, say run, and he's gonna be like, run where? I'm pretty fast, but run where, right? So that's on us as leadership. We get so frustrated with our team not showing up and caring as much as we do, but we haven't told them where we're going. We feel 3 steps in front of them, like dragging them behind them, saying, come on, keep up, but we haven't told them what we're running. How could they possibly? So if you want to unlock proactivity within your team, let them know what success looks like. Give them the finish line, and then they will tell you what they need in order to run the race, right? So OKRs are fantastic for you to get clear on how you're going to hit your goal. But if it never extends past your own mind, how can anybody else help you hit it? That doesn't actually solve our strategy execution gap. That just means there's more strategy happening, but the people responsible for execution are just as in the dark as they were. Not to call you out, I'm sure you're doing a great job, but like that's the critical step, right? That's what's really going to start to unlock this bottom-up communication. All of a sudden your team is gonna start coming to the table with all these incredible ideas, and you're gonna be like, where the fuck was this? That's a great idea. Why didn't you tell me that 90 days ago, right? You will start to see your B players become A players. And the truth is that they always were, they just didn't know what race we were running. What's powerful about a well-built company-wide objective is that it is truly company-wide. Everyone across the company can contribute to it because that gives every single person across your company purpose, right? All of us want our work to matter. All of us want to be working on something bigger than ourselves. All we're doing when we map out OKRs is we're helping our team understand here is how you individually matter. Here is how your work matters. It's not nice to have. It's not great that you're around and we like you a lot. It matters. In fact, it's necessary. If you don't hit your objective, the whole company-wide objective is lost. We need you here, and there's no one else at this entire company that has ownership for this objective. It's just you. Can you do it? If we're talking about empowering our team, that means transferring responsibility. That means transferring trust. And when we give them the clarity of like, this is what success looks like, you're the only person who can run this race. What do you need from me to be successful in that? They step up. It's incredible. The transformations we see across these teams, sometimes it takes 2 weeks for a team of reactive, slow B players to all of a sudden become these proactive, innovative, critical thinking A players. And again, you're like, where was this? It was always there. They wanted to give it to you. They just didn't know how. OKRs very simply is a way of giving them that while guaranteeing that they don't run wild and go in a bunch of different directions and work on the wrong thing. So we have gone through this process, right? We set the company-wide objective. We have our sales key result. Galen takes ownership for that. He gets with the sales team. They establish their sales key results. And now those 3 sub-bullets, so the 3 bullets at the bottom, that's the execution game plan, right? So Galen and his sales team have sat down and said, okay, in order for our SDR to be onboarded, as well as the other 3 to 4 key results that we have, what are the major action steps that need to be taken for every single one of these? Just brain dump them, right? Just brain dump them. What is everything that needs to get done in order for that key result to be met? Cool. That's the task list for the next 90 days, right? Now your team is responsible for saying, cool, here's like my whole scope of work for the next 90 days. What's the time that I'm going to need to make available in order to get all of that done? What's the highest priority thing on this list? What needs to go first? What blockers do I need to get rid of in order to be successful in this? And those to-dos, we have, Galen, Veronica, somebody owns every single to-do on that list. And then there's a deadline. By when does this need to get done? So we've essentially built out the highest priority to-do list for the entire company for 90 days in 1 week. And then every week, the cadence, to answer your question, Tommy, the cadence is that every single week on your regular weekly huddles that are happening anyway, instead of saying, hey, what are you doing? Do this, work on this week. All you're saying is, are your OKRs on track or off track? If they're on track, fantastic. What do you need to stay on track? If they're off track, why are they off track and what do we need to get back on track? And then your team tells you, here's the most important things I'm working on this week in order to get my OKRs done, in order to continue to move the needle, right? If you want to be fancy and your operator wants to be fancy, they can build out little progress bars and you can measure and you can see somebody on track or off track. But just to start, again, empowering your team to take ownership for that. Are we on track or off track? I literally don't know. You tell me, are we on track or off track? And if we're off track, it's okay, but we need to know, and you need to know. Because if you don't hit your objective, the company-wide objective is missed. So what do you need to get back on track? So it's a weekly cadence. What are you doing every single week? What is the highest priority thing this week to move you towards your OKRs? To be clear, guys, the rest of the day-to-day work doesn't stop, right? The business doesn't stop. This is what we're doing to make the business better. We all think about ourselves as working in the business versus working on the business, right? We all wish we had more time to work on the business. What if our entire team was working on the business for a few hours every single week? That's essentially what their OKRs are. It's saying, in addition to just the regular pile of stuff, this is how you move the needle and make the company better. So I will sit down with team members and I'll carve out time on their calendar. I'll call it deep work. This is your OKR time. 2 hours, 4 hours every single week. This is your time to work on the business. There are rules that go with deep work time. The rules are, get off of Slack, turn off your email, shut down your phone. No notifications. This is your creative, deep work time. And everybody sees it on your calendar. No one's gonna bother you. Or if they do, they're not gonna expect a response back until your deep work time is done, right? I'm supporting my team to achieve their objectives by making sure that they've got the right time, the right resources, the bandwidth to actually make it happen. That's my job as leadership. That's my job as their coach, right? But they're the person responsible for saying, okay, I've got my 2 hours of deep work time this week. What am I gonna get done? What's highest priority off of this list? And they work their way through. And every week you're just checking in. Where are we at? It's accountability. Where are we at? Where are we at? What do you need? Where are we at? Because guys, like anything else, this is a great idea that if you do it once and then you leave it and forget it, you will get to the end of 90 days and you'll be like, we didn't hit it. If one of my key results is to like up-level staff performance, staff skills, how do we measure that? This could be number of hours spent on training videos, training meetings, whatever that looks like. This could be a certain performance, a measurable performance result that would only be achieved if the training was done. We're training on project management. So a measurable result would be a certain percentage of deadlines met. Because if everyone's doing their work on project management, we're meeting deadlines. That's the whole point of project management. So it could be something, the as measured by is an indicator that says this was done or it was not done. But it does not have to be the exact, like how do you measure increase employee happiness? right? We don't. We use an NPS score, and it's a good enough indicator of what we're trying to get to. So again, the best thing that you can do to stress test the OKRs is follow the logic. If this number was hit, is it possible for us to hit this number any other way than to do the key result? Can we meet our deadlines? Maybe it's not the best. Can we meet all the deadlines that we've set for ourselves at this percentage without this project management training? Because if there's a better or a different way to do it, then it's not an indicating variable. Or alternatively, could we do all of the project management training, we crushed it, but then we still don't meet this deadline, or we still don't meet this metric, right? So that logic has to flow both ways. By achieving the key result, the as measured by is met. If the as measured by is met, it means that we achieved the key result. Same thing as with objectives and key results, right? If every single one of these key results is met, does it guarantee the objective? We don't do anything else except for these 3 to 5 things. Is the objective guaranteed? Alternatively, could we miss any one of these and still hit the objective? Okay, then it's not a key result. Then it's a nice to have. Then it's a sub-item. It's part of the execution game plan, but it's not a key result, right? So we stress test that logic. We hypothetically model 90 days from now. If we've hit this objective, what did it take for us to get there? If any one of these things was missed, would we get there? Or alternatively, if we did all of these things, is it guaranteed that we get there? Or is there still a potential way that we miss it? Measurement can also be as measured by this thing gets completed. To your point, a checkbox, right? This thing is done, but it is done. That is a black and white definition. We know what done looks like. We know what done does not look like. This deliverable was complete. I can point to it and look at it in the business. Yes, it was done, or no, it wasn't. So the purpose with as measured bys, guys, isn't to be rigid. It's not to give you a bunch of bullshit metrics that now you all have to spend a ton of time tracking, right? It's to transfer ownership, and it's to create a black or white definition of done. Just those 2 things. So long as the as measured by achieves those 2 things, then it's filling its purpose. In general, if I have the opportunity to manage towards inputs versus manage towards outputs, I will choose outputs every time. Every time. Because do I really care about the input? No, I care about the output, right? Do I really care that my technicians knock on this many doors? I don't. I care that they meet this hourly goal. Knock as many or as few doors as you need. In fact, the fewer doors, the better. I'm making some assumptions about your business right now. The fewer the doors, the better to meet the outcome. So where possible, attaching success to an outcome, which is effectively what OKRs are, right, is what allows your team, it's what unlocks their autonomy to figure out the inputs, right? Do whatever inputs you need so long as this outcome is met. And so is it an evolutionary process? I would only revert to an input-based metric if there was no effective output-based metric that I could attach to it, right? Like we could assign 100 hours of project management training. Does that guarantee that our people are better project managers? Not really. It guarantees that they're bored and sitting in front of their computer for 100 hours, right? So I would rather measure an output, certain level of deadlines met, certain level of operational efficiency, certain, right? That's what I care about. So that is where we come back to task lists, right? This is a transparent document. This is held in our ClickUp. Anybody could look at it, including me and including them. And so if I'm on my weekly tactical huddle for my sales department, I'm pulling up our sales OKRs and I'm looking and I'm saying, or Galen is looking and saying, hey, what's been done? What hasn't been done? Why hasn't this been done, right? We have a status on there that's blocked. If anything is blocked, that becomes the top priority. Why is this blocked? What's blocking it? What needs to change in order to unblock it, right? So your departmental managers, and again, if this is just you, then it's you wearing that department manager hat, saying, hey, I haven't seen any progress on the OKRs since last week. Why? What happened? Did we just forget to update the board? Are we stuck? What's going on here, right? So when it's broken down into this transparent to-do list, you are tracking progress across that to-do list or not. That's the accountability piece. What is accountability, guys? It's just like the lightest dash of public humiliation, right? Like, and here's the thing, it's not the public that's humiliating you. I'm not disappointed. Company is let down if you don't hit your objective. The people next to you, working their faces off to hit their objectives, are let down. I don't want you to do this because I'm telling you to do this. I want you to do this because this is your highest potential contribution to the business, and I know you're capable of it. So if you're off track, help me understand why that is, because we both know that you can do this. We both know it's the most important thing. We both know that your team is let down if this doesn't get met. So help me understand. That to me is much more powerful than pointing a finger and humiliating. That's like your stern, disappointed father. It's like, oh God, all right, I'll get right on it, right? So not everybody wants a finish line because not everybody wanted to run the race. They were perfectly happy just plodding along after you. All of a sudden, there's a finish line, and all of a sudden, they're alone out there running that race all by themselves because they own the race. And what you'll see is people start to say things like, I don't like how the culture's changed around here. I miss it back when we were smaller. Where is all this pressure coming from? I'm stressed, right? Your A players will rise. When you set the bar, they will rise. Your B and C players, I have a mentor who calls it managing up or managing out. Your B and C players will literally manage themselves off the bus because they won't like it. They'll just quit, and that's okay. That's okay, because that's us building a truly A player team. And the best thing you can do for A players is surround them with other A players. That is the single biggest gift you can give to a top performer is here's a finish line and here's the dream team that's gonna help you get there. They don't wanna be pulling behind a B or C player any more than you do. To help you with all of this, because I know it's a ton of information, this is my step-by-step OKR workflow. It's got the exercises in there. It's even got scripts for how to roll these out to your team. If you choose to take this and run with this, my invitation to you is that between now and the end of the year, you practice this by setting these for Q1, right? So we're already most of the way through Q4. I don't think that's gonna be introducing OKRs. By the time you got it rolled out, it's already Thanksgiving and nobody's working anyway. So I would recommend that you roll this out for Q1. This has everything that you need in order to do that successfully. So whenever you have that deep strategic huddle, either you or with your leadership team, ideas are fresh, motivation is fresh, that's the moment that you step and you say, and you schedule, right? Like for us, we'll schedule a 2-hour OKR session on the Monday after our leadership intensive. I present, here's the OKRs, and then we break out into our departments, and every department is building out their OKRs.